Please be seated. Hallelujah and happy Easter.
Happy Easter.
As I was preparing for this sermon, I decided that right here in church tonight, we could clarify any confusion that any of you might have about this whole resurrection thing. Are you ready? Okay. So like any lazy priest, I pulled the Oxford Dictionary of the Christian Church off of the shelf in my office, and I went to page 1157 under the heading Resurrection of Christ, V. Here's what it says. And I like to imagine this in kind of Shakespearean English, but I can't quite do that. That the Lord Jesus, after his death and burial, rose again on the third day is a fundamental tenet of Christian belief asserted in the New Testament and the creeds. It should be noted that the tradition does not merely say that after his crucifixion, Jesus Christ appeared to these persons, but by stating before mentioning the appearances that Christ was buried and then was raised, point to an objective resurrection in which the Christ's human body no longer remained in the tomb. Got it? Okay, actually, I guess we can go home because I know you all have been abstaining from things through Lent, and you're probably itching to get back and get into that chocolate or whatever it is you gave up. But before we let you out of here, we want to stamp you as proper Christians with orthodox belief. So I will review a little bit more of the Oxford Dictionary of the Christian Church's definition of the resurrection, and then we can all be on our way. So a few lines later, it says, "It is true that the details of the time and place of the appearances of Jesus by which the disciples were convinced of this fact and commissioned to proclaim it appear somewhat confusedly in the Gospels." This is the center of Christianity, right? Somewhat confusedly. That's not very helpful. Seems that the Bible itself isn't quite clear about what the resurrection is. And if the Bible isn't quite clear, how can we stand you with proper Orthodox approval to go out and be back with your families? So, I'm going to look briefly at the readings that we heard from the Bible tonight. I thought about rereading them to you for clarity, but we'll be here tomorrow, right? Okay. So I'll just summarize. The readings we heard tonight are just overflowing with overwhelming, extravagant, metaphorical, concrete, symbolic, universal, particular, historical, theological, mythological, emotional, overwhelming, humbling, informative, and utterly bamboozling meaning. In the creation myth, God breathes life into dark, dead nothingness. In the flood story, God renews a broken creation. The Exodus motif echoes throughout the Old Testament as God continually beckons his people to move from slavery into freedom. Ezekiel dreams about God's Spirit renewing the fragile bones of people who are symbolically dead. And Zephaniah reminds us of God's dream that all people can gather together at the same table. If all of these myths are telling us anything, they're reminding us that God is there in the beginning. God is with us on the journey. And God is surely calling us into the future. Put more simply, these stories are all about relationship. A relationship with God that can't be kept in the dark. It can't be drowned. It can't be confined. A relationship that survives even death. These stories remind us that the resurrection, which we Christians celebrate here on Easter, resurrection is not about assenting to a series of historically improbable propositions. Somehow on that Easter morning, Jesus is So, when someone asks you to define the resurrection, I recommend against going to a dictionary. Just show them that you love God